why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, that's our next statement that we're going to talk about, is the art design of the whole movie. Now, overall, the art, I feel they did a great job. When it comes to designing, like, the clothes and the looks and the makeup of the people in the Capitol, that was fantastic.
That was perfect.
I
loved it.
They got the Capitol citizens down. They got the looks of the citizens of District 12 down very well. Once you get in, I'm going to mention more of this later, but when you finally get into the Capitol, they really hit that on the head. I feel like they did a great job.
And overall design, just for all of the they didn't show much of the other districts.
No.
They showed, I think...
But then again, there wasn't that much of the other districts.
There wasn't, except for District 11, but that was kind of added. But basically, what they showed of the overall design, it all meshed well, it all went well. It was very well designed, and as Gabe had said, the Capitol was, that was perfectly designed. They really caught what the Capitol was in a nutshell. I wouldn't say a nutshell, it was bursting from the scenes. The art.
And the contrast between District 12 and the Capitol as well. They did a great job with that.
It was so bright and colorful, and it was supposed to look that way because the Capitol is a symbol of hope.
Well, they wanted to be the shining symbol of civilization.
Yeah, it's supposed to be this shining symbol of civilization, so everything in there was gleaming. It was pretty much pristine. And it was very pretty. And Effie and the good thing, when Effie first went to District 12, she really showed the Capitol in her...
her first appearance, the first appearance of Effie and the first appearance of the Peacekeepers.
Yes.
Brilliant job of already establishing the contrast between
District 12 and the Capitol.
Exactly.
They were, in some ways, I want to use the word juxtaposition.
Yeah, good juxtaposition.
They had a great juxtaposition. And juxtaposition. I'm an art major, and I don't even know how to pronounce that word. Man! Hey, you can't get an argument down. So, anyway, the other thing going on, District 12.
Let's start off talking about District 12. I loved the design for District 12. It was set, District 12 in the books is described as having been once known as Appalachia. And as soon as they started showing scenes from District 12, it felt like my family is from Eastern Kentucky. My family background is from Eastern Kentucky. And so as soon as they started showing sequences of District 12, it literally felt like I was walking out into the backyards of some of my great aunts and uncles. It was fantastic.
It was...
The design of the seam, the little village, was great. And I also love the contrast between the Hall of Justice and the rest of the village.
Yeah. My favorite part about the Justice Hall was, and this is kind of a technical thing, and it's more geared toward the movie script side.
Yeah.
But artistically it worked because the Hall of Justice is supposed to be the Capitol in...
The Capitol's influence.
The Capitol's influence in the district. And each one has one, and this one is coal mining, so...
It's a very dark building. It was very ominous and foreboding, basically.
And the thing that I liked, though, was Effie comes in, and when Effie first appears, they do a panning shot of the Hall of Justice. And what I loved about this was you see peacekeepers and attendants and things scrubbing the
coal dust
off, which, even though it was minor and there was a lot of other minor things they missed, this minor thing art-wise and design-wise worked because it showed that even though
they're trying to sort of scrub away the grubbiness of the district so that the shining, pristine Capitol can remain supreme and dominant for all the intents and purposes of the video.
So it worked amazingly because it contrasted both them, and it showed how much the Capitol wants to show that they are in power and they're better, they're greater, and that they're above everything just by keeping, even though it's in a grubby district, although grubby district, coal dust district, they wanted to keep it pristine so that they had Iron Fist almost in that district. And so I loved the design of District 12.
All right, so we've already touched upon the Capitol, so I'll just mention a few more details about that. The first view that you have of the Capitol from the train, I was kind of underwhelmed. It wasn't until you get into the Capitol that it really clicked for me that this was, the shining pristine Capitol. And so what the view from the train, I was expecting more of a look of tall, enormous, shining silvery towers, almost a shinier Coruscant, shiny silver Coruscant in more of a condensed area. But once the train pulled into the station and the tributes got out and the parade happened, the parade especially was where it clicked for me.
See, when I first saw the Capitol, I didn't instantly fall in love with it, but I kind of liked it because I was coming from this view that this is a post-apocalyptic world.
So it's not going to be all pristine and perfect.
It's not going to be all pristine and perfect, and they don't have the resources that they once did. They're just getting the resources, and since the resources come from the other districts, it's going to take a while for them to get enough resources to build those tall, pristine buildings, even though they've got some pretty tall buildings as it is.
Like I said, it was more of a distance sort of thing. Once they got closer to the Capitol, the buildings got taller.
It was perfect for me because post-apocalyptic, they've just rebuilt the Capitol, and even though most of the resources go to the Capitol,
relatively just, it's been like 75 years.
Yeah, so it's like all the resources are going to the Capitol, so they are building slowly, but the districts are slowly getting the resources in, and it's slower the farther out the district is. So it worked, and I loved the design of it. And then, as you said, when you get in the Capitol, then it really was like, okay, this is the Capitol. They have it so much better. They're jerk faces, and they don't care about anything but themselves. And so it worked. The design, it was pristine, it was great. And the train station, I love the train station. I think that and the chariot scene had to be my favorite
capital sequences
because it was so cool, and I loved trains when I was younger.
Okay, and now while we're on the chariot sequence, let's just try to keep this briefly touching on the girl on fire costumes.
Can I take this really quick?
Can I just
one word?
Sucked.
Yeah,
it was awful. Like they weren't absolutely horrible, but when you've heard, like, they're getting ready for the chariot sequence, and you see them wearing the black skin suits, and it's like, oh man, that'll look so cool, wreathed in flame, and then they start off with a close-up on Katniss's face, and you can see little licks of flame highlighting her face, and then it pulls out, and she's like the girl whose upper back was on fire. That's honestly about all it was.
Yeah, well,
like,
that must be
it was very underwhelming. It was lame.
Yeah, it was very lame. And I'm going to take this to a more technical side with CGI and loving graphic design. When the first shot of her on her head is shown, I was like, oh, this is it. This is... And I could feel my hands. So, and then, as it panned over or switched to a cut, I can't remember what it did, but it switched to a cut of showing Peeta and Katniss from an angle at one side, and you saw the flames. My heart sunk because.
Well, I know you wanted the flames to look more realistic, but I was almost okay with the look of the flames themselves.
The CGI was not up to par, and I'm going to get into more of that later. But the flames were so lame; it just didn't work. It just didn't feel like what you saw in your mind when you saw a girl on fire.
This was the girl and the boy standing side by side holding hands whose upper backs were on fire. That was
imagine the stupid videos of people who catch themselves on fire. This was not it. This was like Gabe said, upper backs on fire.
And that's about it.
And it was so So anyway though.
Let's move on.
To the dress.
Her dress during the interview scene, on the other hand, was excellent.
And here's why this is why I felt so, after seeing the dress and seeing the costumes first, this is what made me upset. They did such a great job with the CGI on her dress. I loved the dress. The dress was perfect. It wasn't what it was in the books.
It was almost exactly how I saw it.
Almost exactly, except there was actually no fake fire. But I loved the dress because the fire looked more realistic, and even though it was fake fire, it still looked more realistic. It was CGI at its best, and I think personally, the CGI in this movie, that was probably the best CGI they had, other than the backstage stuff with Seneca Crane and the whole other people. But that was probably the best CGI I'd seen the whole movie. So I loved the dress.
Well, let's move on to the arena, the design of the arena. The design of the arena itself, the surrounding area of the arena itself, was great. The foresty look of the arena with the stream, the foresty look with the arena with the stream and the lake, that was all great.
The tubes that pull them up, loved the tubes.
The tubes sequence.
I mean, the tubes aren't hard to screw up, but still.
The bloodbath, the whole sequence leading up into the bloodbath, and them running off into the woods, and the design of the exterior design of the arena, along with the sequence of Katniss running away from the fire at one point. That was all really good. That was great. And then you see the cornucopia, and you
die.
It was awful.
Die.
It was awful.
It was supposed to be gold. It was supposed to be more life, more oomph to it, and
it was supposed to like sit. They described it as sitting atop like a pile.
And more
of something
round and more round.
This was like a cubist's like flat edge, silver gray, dull death cornucopia.
It just gave a darker feeling to the arena, even though that was supposed to contrast.
It was
with
like the cornucopia.
The dark feeling.
The cornucopia symbol of life. Was supposed to be in a sort of contrast to everything that was going on in the arena, and this it just fit right in with the death, and it wasn't supposed to.
Let me say this though, as looking from an artist perspective,
art design perspective,
and looking at the movie's design and the ending finale battle. It worked, what they did. The color, though, they could have changed different. The color should have been different, and it was supposed to be pure gold, so the color should have been different. But for the final battle, I thought what they did was because of the final battle. Now, I'm not condoning their lack of trying to get what was in the book, but I am saying that for the final battle, it worked better because...
with the standing on top of it.
The standing on top of it, the fighting on top of it, it worked better to keep them on top and stuff. So part of me thinks that's why they designed it the way they did. But that doesn't give them excuse for not at least making it gold. They could have at least made it gold and more roundish and more contrasting.
More cornucopia-ish.
More cornucopia. It was a paper cornucopia replica. It was a paper origami replica that was too blocky. And so that was good. But the arena was great. What about
let's see.
Backstage? Behind with Seneca Crane.
The behind the scenes. I love the control room.
Like I said earlier, best CGI. I loved the design. It kind of made me feel Mass Effect. It made me feel like it was Mass Effect, and that's what I envision when you see touchscreen pads in the future and stuff like that. And I loved how there was the map in the middle, and they used pens to like project stuff and whatnot. And I loved the design. Artistically, it was great. It fit perfectly. It was white. Everything was white with a blue contrast. Did you notice that? The only thing that wasn't was Seneca Crane. But it was perfect, the contrasts and everything. And the CGI was perfect. It looked realistic. It looked like it could be, because it's not hard, because holograms are fake anyway. So, I mean, it was good. The design of the backstage with Seneca Crane and all of the game makers or game controllers or whatever was great. I loved best CGI with a close second with the dress, but best CGI.
Now